footprint. They also did a 2-tier box setup, so if you wanted to bring Rebirth to Xbox, you have to get it to run on the Series S. So you have the smallest footprint, you have more work that needs to be done to get it to run. I mean, Xbox made this bed, and if you don't like sleeping in it, then get out of it. Like, go to the other side and go, or get all the systems. And the other thing that gets lost in this discussion every time this comes up is everybody wants to demonize PlayStation when Yoshida himself indicated that whenever they are going to build a game, he said, we approach multiple platforms, multiple companies, and they come back with their offers. And so I think people forget that these companies have really valuable property, and they're going to shop it around, and they're going to go where they feel like they get the best deal. In the same Game Informer interview and article, he said this. He said that developing and limiting developing for one system makes it not only easier, but it allows us the ability to optimize it. And they also can then leverage the marketing of PlayStation and have that shouldered for them. So that this is not it's always sort of cast as this, PlayStation did this and they're making it hard for Xbox. It's like, well, no, Square Enix has a vested interest in going where it will be the most profitable and economical and the most efficient place for them to put their games. And, that all the fair pushback on me, my prediction that we'll see more day and date on PC, everybody's exactly right. Building for one system, you get a better optimized and better curated product. And currently PlayStation is not set up for parallel development, they're set up for porting. So, for my prediction to come true, they'd have to change a lot of their infrastructure and a lot of their processes. And when you look at the situation with Rebirth, I just find the narrative shifting and the commentary, I find it to be tiring because it just doesn't ever feel genuine. It sort of feels like, well, we went from exclusives are super important and ZeniMax and Bethesda's going to be exclusive and ABK is going to have exclusives to now acting like exclusives are bad. And that to me is frustrating because, again, it feels like astroturfing. It feels like this has been sort of dispersed throughout the mouthpieces to distribute, and I don't know. I want to see more meltdowns and people saying they don't want to do this anymore, and they start pushing back against this kind of nonsense and just saying what they think. I think that's a welcome and refreshing thing because it feels authentic.
The point that what Luno said is look at the way Xbox gamers reacted when Palworld is only on Xbox, right? And PC. And people would champion it as, oh, look at this exclusive, but then Helldivers, which is also on PC but not on Xbox, and all of a sudden the tune flipped. As soon as Helldivers, you notice, Palworld came out, everyone quote tweeting 10 million players, 7 million players on Xbox. Oh, this is amazing. You see the place rubbing it in PlayStation gamers' face. As soon as Helldivers comes around, boom, it's switched. And it's been that way since 2013. Before 2013. Yeah, but well before. Like, this has been an ongoing thing, and it will always switch, and it will do so to the end of time until either they don't exist, the companies, or everything is everywhere. Like, that's the only way it'll stop.
So, no. So what? You could just leave. You leave. You see Logic? I'm about to say, yeah. Let me send him a message. Oh yeah, he did say he was going to be a bit late. He said because he had to take his kid to swim practice. So. Oh yeah, I got 6 hours in. Interesting how that's going. I think Eric was complaining about Best Buy not having his physical deluxe edition ready.
Yo, what is up, guys? This is your boy Forte, and here with the homie Slow-Mo Backslap for episode 169 of the DPS Damage Per Second podcast. It's going to be a great time. We really appreciate all of you guys. Shout out to the members. We got members already coming through and subscribing to the channel. Really appreciate that. You guys are the real MVP. Shout out to you. Mash is welcome to the 10%ers, bro. Really, really appreciate you for tuning up for the show today, and shout out to everybody else in the chat, man. It's going to be a great show today. We are going to be joined by Game Logic later on in the show. You know, if you don't know who he is one part of the Brat podcast with me, Slow-Mo, and B Money and Enrique, who is Brat basically. So if you didn't know, that's who's going to be joining us today. But we're going to get into this show because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to probably talk about a couple of extra things that's not listed in a topic list because there's just so much stuff that happened over the course of this week. But we don't want to be here to 12 o'clock at night because we kind of want to play Final Fantasy today, just like you guys do.
Probably will anyway.
Well, Slow-Mo's probably playing it right now. So.
No, I've been playing it too much already today. So
right.
I mean, not too much that I couldn't play it again. But still,
right? Exactly,
I'm
exactly.
focused.
Surprised you ain't
Focused,
scream
man.
it. So I know this is when I know that you.
I'm not.
I
A
know.
lot of people have been asking me about that, but I'm not like. Look, the weight. If I was streaming it right now, people would be mad because like I'm still in the first open area of the game.
Yeah.
Like
Dang, 6 hours in, huh?
Done. Yeah, like 6 hours in, I'm still in the open area because there's a lot to do there.
That's crazy.
Huge, massive map, and that's how I planned on playing this. Like when I'll stream hard mode after I beat the game,
right?
And then I can I can wear any outfit I want to wear, and I don't even have to have Cloud as the in the party, and I can just do whatever, and then I'll be playing hard mode through it. At that point, I'll stream that, but nah. Right now, like people be upset. Like he ain't done nothing. He out there riding the chocobo and getting finding chests and having
That's
the chocobo
awesome.
find things and fighting enemies and trying to get all the skills unlocked and leveling up and doing all kinds of stuff. I know we're gonna talk about it later, but what they've done with the combat is really enhanced it, and I'm having a ball with it. But I'm like, before I move on to after the town of Khan, and then you kind of go into the open world area.
Mm-hmm.
Before I move on from there, I'm just decided I'm just going to do all this stuff and get to the point where every weapon that we have. That my party has, they know the skill. So if I get a new weapon, I can just move on to that weapon. I am doing my best to get as many skill points possible to unlock all the synergy stuff. Yeah, like by the time I move on, I'll have found everything in the first area. So that's kind of how I've been rolling with it, man. It's What about you, man? You have you played it yet? You haven't played it yet, right?
Nope. I was, like I said, last night I was working on a video for tomorrow, and I was doing a thumbnail, and I just happened to see Attic was streaming, so I started watching him stream the first beginning parts of it, and I was like I told you in the pre-show, I was like, man, let me stop watching this dude because you know how the very first, like in the first hour, you see all the stuff that happens. I'm like, yo, let me stop watching this because I was literally 2 seconds away slow-mo from going to my PlayStation and clicking buy. I was literally gonna click buy and say, yeah, I gotta get the game now. But no, I went to work today. I was telling slow-mo, unfortunately, my collector's edition got delayed by 24 hours. So I do have a copy. I got a copy from work today, the standard edition, so I could just play tonight. And then when my collectors come tomorrow, I'll be able to dive completely in. So I don't know how much time I'm gonna get into it tonight because I already see myself once I boot this game up, it's gonna probably be 3 hours to 4 hours later. And I don't know if I want to be dealing with no sleep forte in the morning. So it really just depends on how it goes tonight, but I'll definitely jump in tonight and play it. But I'm just happy to see a lot of people just enjoying, like just talking to people coming into the store. Like people literally was like, yo, this is an extended weekend for me. I took Friday off. I don't go back to work. I don't go back to work till Monday next week. I was like, oh yeah, you ready? He's like, yeah, bro, I took a 6th day for Friday. So it's a lot of people excited. You also got to remember this too. When Remake came out, we were full blown in the middle of a pandemic. Like
true.
Full blown. So a lot of people, you really didn't get a chance to, on Twitter, we got a chance to see it because, Twitter is just Twitter. But, you ain't get a chance to really see people's real excitement, like of them picking up Final Fantasy when it came out, because it was barely anybody in the streets at that time to buy anything. Everything was online. People were like stuck in their own devices when it comes to their conversations with other people. They were only really talking to their closest friends that they probably were online with. Now I'm starting to see how happy people like walking into the store. Like I feel like this is like almost the closest I gotten to what Zelda did when Zelda released, late last year or middle of last year. That energy from just a title releasing that people were very, very looking forward to. So the funny thing and the funny narrative was from everybody was like, yep, $70 to basically enjoy this game for 30 to 40 hours just to wait 5 more years for the last part to come out. That was kind of the energy everybody was on. So, man, I can't wait to get into it myself. Did you get a chance did you actually finish your playthrough of Remake that you were doing? Did you actually finish it?
Yeah, I did it. Shows how much you pay attention to our other channel, sir.
Well, no, I see you stream it, but I didn't watch the stream to see if you finished it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I did finish it. I did.
Okay,
finish
then
it.
Stop trying to be all messy.
I ain't being messy. You being messy, sir. Anyway, I did finish it, and I wanted to do intermission, but it wasn't like super necessary to do intermission.
Right.
Really more of like the point of intermission is to get you really introduce Yuffie. And it's only like a 3-4 hour really thing, but to really introduce you to this energy system. And it's I mean, like I just didn't have the time. So
no, I get you on that.
But I did finish the main game, which was pretty awesome. Check out the replays of those streams if anyone wants to get caught up on that. Or if you are now I'm gonna be messy. Or if you're the kind of type that says that Rebirth is amazing and people should play Rebirth and Rebirth is so awesome, but you never play Remake. Well, just watch my stream and then you can pretend like you actually played Remake so that you can stop fraud. Or at least
did you stream from beginning to end? Yeah. You stream from beginning to end on Remake. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's get away from the Final Fantasy topic because I definitely want you to dive in a little bit deeper into like the combat and like the story that you played over the 6 hours you played so far. And that would be our topic right before we transition over to the DPS podcast, one of the greatest podcast channels you will ever subscribe to. So if you haven't,
big facts.
Please subscribe to that channel and we appreciate it. But Slow-Mo, let's start this off. Supermassive Games enters consultation. This seems to be the narrative that's happening across the industry when it comes to a lot of studios, big and small. Layoffs are a thing. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with Supermassive and who's going to be affected or even how many people are going to be affected. But what was your first thoughts when you saw that Supermassive was going to be going through consultation? And what do you think? How big do you think this is actually going to get over the course of this year in gaming?
Well, I think we're going to see. I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're going to exceed the number of people that are laid off this year in 2024 compared to last year in 2023, which was already at like record numbers. It's going to get bad, and it's going to continue to really be that bad. But I think there will be I think 2025 things will probably get a little bit easier on that front, that the industry will have kind of course corrected and learned some lessons. They definitely chased the bag during the pandemic. They saw the increased interest in gaming. They saw all the money that was out there to be made, and they said, let's do it. Let's do it, baby. And they were all in on that, which to a degree is okay to kind of, but it's like you can't expect that to last forever.
Right.
And we all kind of figured that eventually what was going to happen was that like these companies were going to have to go back to normal and realize, man, we got too many people here. And I also kind of feel like in some ways the industry's kind of been going towards this where games are getting too big, costing too much money to make, and bad decision making was going on. And so to kind of narrow it down to Supermassive was initially a support studio for Guerrilla Games, and they helped them out with game development back in the PS3 era. During the PS4 era, that's when they came out with their first game Until Dawn, which was really good. Really good, kind of Telltale-ish, but horror, campy horror game, visually using the Decima engine, way better looking than what Telltale was capable of doing at the time. They really showed promise. And as a second party developer under Sony, they were kind of like them and Quantic Dream, and even back then Insomniac and what's the other one? Housemarque, all second party developers that you could kind of see Sony was kind of looking at potentially acquiring, but only two that group really got acquired. The others fell by the wayside for various reasons, but with Supermassive, apparently the reason why they never got acquired is because they really, that whole Dark Pictures thing with Bandai Namco really was, I said it when it happened, I was like, this is a bad idea. You can't make a game a year at your size. Like, we see that from Call of Duty, we see that from NBA 2K and Madden, but you look at those huge publishers who are having multiple support studios, making sure that that game is ready to go on an annual basis. And you got Supermassive that was at the time like 100 developers. They now have grown, like swelled up to like 300, where they were 300 before they did the layoffs. But we saw what happened, and what I was hoping wouldn't happen happened. Like the level of quality that they had with Until Dawn, characters with layers, a story that was more complex than what you initially thought it would be. None of that was present in the Dark Picture games. They would come out annually, one-note characters, really just basically, oh, this is the party girl. Oh, this is the dumb
exactly.
guy. And it's just like, no, there's no depth to any of these characters. There's no depth to the story. It's a real short experience. Some of them were okay, and then some of them were really, really bad. And then they came out with The Quarry, which was originally was supposed to be Until Dawn 2, but because Sony owns the Until Dawn license, and when Sony dropped them, when they started doing the Dark Pictures games, maybe Sony looked and was like, there's just no way in the world. Like, you had 100 developers working on Until Dawn, your whole studio. Now you're dedicating like a quarter of these people to the sequel. Like, we don't like where this is going.
Right.
Yeah. Good luck to you guys. And they're out there with basically doing what Telltale did, where they stretched themselves way too thin, took on way too many projects, and the level of quality that they once had was no longer present. In addition to them not innovating on their game design, which is all the things that we see from Supermassive now, this was kind of inevitable for them. When the Dark Picture games don't sell, and they're all getting critically panned, and then 2 years ago, they dropped 2 games in a year, and both of those games stunk. Probably their worst games ever. The Quarry is awful. Yeah. Shout out to the Sycamore, who didn't listen to me when I told him, don't play this game. Now, he playing the game, and he's just like, Slow-mo, what's going on with this game? This game sucks. I'm like,
he said, I tried to save you, bro.
I tried to help you, man.
Oh, shit.
And it's just like it's awful to see them go down this path that we kind of saw coming, but then it is what it is. So I hope this course correction for them is them looking at what got them the level of success that they initially had, and doubling down on that, and not like some of these bad decisions. I think their founders actually resigned as well. I think that happened right before these layoffs. So maybe that is what's happening here now, is that they are realizing we made some huge missteps. The founders are gone. We got new people in leadership making decisions now. Unfortunately, some things are going to have to get done that are, we don't want to lay people off, but we can't survive as a business with all these people here, and we're doing all the projects that we're doing, and we need to get our reputation back to where it was when we dropped Until Dawn. People thought we were a nice up and comer. So all that said, I hope the best for them, but I'm not interested really in anything they got going on in the future until I see like the level of quality has improved. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree, because when you look at it, it's like the downfall literally started happening. Like they had a little success when it came to Man of Medan, with the Dark Pictures games, and then they decided to say we're going to release one every year, every year.
Yeah.
On top of still making Little Nightmares 2, which was the second, installment in the Little Nightmares series. So over the course of the last 4 years, they made 5 games. And like you said, and this is where it really where I knew it was something going on last year. My daughter loves dark picture games. She loves all those games. She loves Supermassive. She loved Until Dawn. She liked Man of Medan. She was there day one with The Quarry. And she went out and actually used her money to buy the Dark Picture anthology, all the games of Little Hope and House of Ashes and Devil in Me. She has all of them. And the fact that she never finished, she reluctantly finished The Quarry, didn't like it. She was like, this isn't it. This isn't it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I see how you feeling right now. And then same thing with all these other games. It's like the things that made them special was completely gone, which was the story aspect and the building of the relationships of the characters inside of it. That's why a lot of people liked Until Dawn, because you kind of got attached to those people as you went through the game. And also it was also cool to go through it multiple times and see if you keep people alive and stuff like that. It's like they lost a little bit of that. I'm not trying to say the execution wasn't there. I just think they just weren't good games. I just think the polish wasn't the same. It just seemed like the effort was kind of like a lot of corners were cut in some of those games. So it's like we're trying to get these games out because, gaming is booming. A lot of people are playing games, but guess what? They're only going to play your game if your game is good at this point. Because the one thing that does happen in a pandemic like this, where people are stuck in the house and they got a chance to play games, they're going to play the games that they like. It's a little bit more even heightened at that point, because when people are coming out of the pandemic and people aren't playing games as much as they were before, it's like now you're starting to see the ramifications of just releasing after releasing after releasing and not doing that quality control that a lot of people were kind of looking forward to. So I don't have any hope, because they're still supposed to be releasing Little Nightmares 3 at some point this year. Hasn't been announced a date yet, but don't know what's going to happen there. And they still have another Dark Pictures anthology game.
Little Nightmares 3.
Yeah, there's a Little Nightmares 3 that they're making. It's supposed to come out this year.
Supermassive?
Yes.
Why would Supermassive be making Little Nightmares?
They are. It's a Little Nightmares Game 3 that's coming out this year, developed by Little Nightmares. Developed by Supermassive.
Are you sure?
Dude,
I'm doing it?
I'm looking at their thing right now.
Wow,
right here.
They are doing it.
Yeah, they're
so
doing
strange.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so not in their wheelhouse at all.
I know.
Maybe
so
that sounds kind of. Don't that sound kind of desperate?
It is desperate. That's why I brought up the fact that they were working. So they went from Until Dawn to working on all of the Dark Picture games, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of that, they made Little Nightmares 2.
Yeah, they also have coming, which is a good collaboration. But Dead by Daylight, which is I think an awful game.
Yeah,
it's a very
that's a good one. Yeah,
trash. Like it's that whole Evolve game.
My daughter
design.
plays it every day too,
and that's it. I don't get it. I do not. But the younger generation is obsessed with that game so much so that now we got like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which is very similar, and I don't get it, but it's super popular, and I understand why they would do it. But then again, this is Telltale kind of stuff.
Yeah,
This is what Telltale
exactly.
would do. Telltale would take popular video game IP and then do their Telltale version of it, which has worked in some ways. Like for Tales from the Borderlands, it was amazing. It was probably one of
Yeah.
their best games. But then you got like the Minecraft story mode, which I don't know anyone who played that. That's probably might be the only Telltale game I never played. They had other ones where like just nobody paid attention to them, and what happens in those cases for Telltale, and I'm pretty sure this is probably the same when it comes to Supermassive, is that with these licensed deals, you don't have a lot of leverage because you're kind of behind the eight ball on money. You're needing these projects to fund your studio and keep the lights on. You're really accepting whatever. And those deals that were negotiated weren't for Telltale were not negotiated very well. Where the lion's share of the revenue went to the company that licensed it and not necessarily the developer that was making it. And so if you don't have your own original IP, you're really kind of not getting everything out of it that you would want to get out of it. The Quarry would have been great as their own original IP if it was good, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. Right.
And the Dark Pictures games, Bandai Namco publishes those. I don't know ownership level of things of the entire anthology. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they didn't own that either. And that was owned by Bandai Namco. So they really need to really reevaluate how they do business and get a new business strategy that it has a more lasting ability for them to survive on long term. Because like the way they're going, it wouldn't surprise me at all. We go into next generation and Supermassive don't exist no more. Like that's their. I hate to say it because it's like when you see like, man, I really kind of feel like they're going the way of Telltale, and it's not just because they make the same kind of games. It's just that they make the same kind of games. They make the same bad decisions.
Yeah.
And if you like, I used to do videos on them, and I remember looking at one of the interviews that one of the founders had made, and like the interviewer asked the question about like, you're making these games in like 8 to 9 months, and do you think this is a little bit too much all at once? And one of the game design directors as well as the founder of the company were both just like, no, like they was just so not necessarily arrogant, but just naive and thinking that they were going to be different than anyone else, because they were just like, no, look, we have great motion capture technology. We work with professional actors who are all about making sure they stay on schedule and we don't have any delays. And I'm like, oh, that's fine and all, but that's not really the problem. Like, no one said your games were ugly. They were a bit buggy, and that comes with not having enough time to polish the game, right? But no one was like, your games look hideous and the mocap's bad. People was like, yo, your stories stink, your characters stink. These are things that we thought that you were very good at one point. And none of that stuff makes this kind of game very compelling. And it's like you're not going to be able to improve upon that when you got like a narrative team that's overworked, that doesn't have a lot of time to write things, and even deciding to change things might slow down the process of getting this game out. And you just don't do those things. And here's the end result: is people think you're kind of mid now. So
Also, welcome to the show, Game Logic. Like I said, one part of the Brat podcast. Shout out to you for finally coming through, and we really appreciate you coming on the show and spending your time with us, sir. We're talking about Supermassive and and basically they're going to consultation. Basically, we know layoffs are happening over there, and talking about the games and the direction they actually went with their studio and stuff. Do you have anything you want to add to that first before we move on to the next thing, sir?
I do, man. I actually need to add a question. Why you got to say it like that? What?
Say-
Finally showed up.
Finally,
I told y'all I was gonna be late, man.
finally,
I told
Game
Forte
Logic
this.
has come back to DPS podcast. Let's go.
All right. No, we'll let it go. No, I don't have anything to add to the super match.
Listen,
I mean,
Liz, I just had to speak your language for a second. That's all.
I mean, it's endemic of what's going on around the industry. I mean, I mean, everybody's taking their bite, and it's not really a. I hate to say it's not really a surprise, right? That a studio like Supermassive would be hit. We have studios being hit that we would not expect to be hit. So,
Right.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh, well, welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate you, and Slow Mo appreciates you being here. And please tell us what's been going on with you over the course of the last couple of days since people got a chance to hear from you over the last week. What you been up to?
Let's see. I've been playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Gran Turismo 7, a little bit of Destiny 2, and there was something. Oh, and Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Ooh! Now I am excited about that one because guess what? I am so close. Do you have a flight stick for your flight simulator?
Bro, my name is Game Logic. I have several.
Okay, you do. I am so. Me and you have to talk after the show because I am on a bubble. It's a couple of different ones I'm looking at, and I need your opinion on them because I definitely want a flight stick because I love that game and I'm tired of playing with a controller. So
Are you okay? Well, I was about.
I used to have a flight stick, but my flight stick broke a long time ago. It's just, it's like I know what the quality of it needs to be in order to get what I want out of it. It's just that I don't know if I want to go as far as I want to go, or do I need to stick in this 200 price range that I'm at right now that I'm thinking about. That's what it mostly comes down to.
Yeah, now I was about to jump to the assumption that because you said controller, you were trying to get something for Xbox.
No, PC, baby.
I forget y'all are like people from another planet and use your controllers on PC. But notwithstanding,
Oh Lord.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, sir.
Listen, I still body people with a controller on PC, so I don't know what you're talking about.
So-
PC is not what you think it is. Guess what? All those people that's out here trying to play and learn how to use a mouse on a PC, and I know how to use a mouse on PC, but all those people, guess what? There's just as many bad people with a mouse and keyboard that are with people with keyboard that use a controller.
Well, I mean, especially when you're comparing them against aim assist.
Oh my God! Here you go. You do realize that a mouse. You do realize that these games do have a moderate amount of recoil reduction. Wait, first of all, don't you realize that with a mouse you get zero? It's like zero recoil with a mouse, where a controller has a lot of recoil.
Are you talking about from the haptic feedback?
No, on screen.
Nah.
Like if you
you're saying the
you
weapons
play
modeling
Destiny.
is negated by using a
Wait,
mouse?
hold on. You play Destiny. You played it on PC. Let's not act like the recoil pattern on Destiny is the same between mouse and keyboard and mouse and controller. Because let's be for real, controller and mouse may have aim assist, but keyboard and mouse got laser beams for freaking recoil. Let's be for real here. I played 9 years of that game to know that.
But that's not the weapons modeling. That's just the player being more accurate because of the
No,
input
you
surface they're
have
using.
no recoil with an SMG from across the map. No recoil.
Yeah, you're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to show me some clips. I'm sure you have some assets that you could show me. So
Absolutely, I do, because trust me, I got video proof of me beaming people across the map with a keyboard and mouse, and also having ridiculous aim assist with a controller. Yeah, it's definitely it's a benefit both ways, sir. But we ain't about to sit here. We ain't gonna turn this into this.
Quick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because I know because this will go super left.
This will go long.
I think a lot of PC players who are mouse and keyboard, they run into a controller player, whether it's on console or on PC, and they think that when they got like destroyed by that controller player, that oh, it's just aim assist, and not realizing that's not just aim assist. That's someone cheating. Like someone's getting more than just aim assist.
They getting a little bit more, right? It's a little bit more happening in the background.
It's not the same because like I've seen it, and I'm playing Call of Duty, and I'm just like I got clips of like stuff that's just impossible. But the dude's on PlayStation, this dude's on Xbox, and I'm just like, yo, that's just not you can't aim. What in the world's going on upstairs? You can't hit someone like they just like, if you see the clips, you just be like, wait, what just happened here? And it's not possible, but it is possible with Cronus. so it's like now everyone's using that, but people get destroyed by that, and then they already have this issue. That's saying you, Logic, but like I see a lot of PC guys who have this issue with just anyone using controller, and they immediately want the developer to nerf aim assist, nerf controller into the ground, and then afterwards they're bragging about how they're beating the controller players. I'm just like, oh, so you just really just wanted a advantage. I've seen this in the finals, because the finals is like has lost a massive number of people since they started nerfing literally everything, and the only like build that works is medium build, really. If you're heavy, you've been nerfed. If you're light build, primarily you've been nerfed. The weapons that you use have been nerfed. And controller, they keep changing and tweaking controller like every update they do, to the point where it's like you don't even know like what settings to run with, because if you change your sensitivities or your dead zones or whatever, like it's fine for a week, and then they do another update and none of that stuff works again. So it's just, I know I just went into a rabbit hole. My bad, but I think both and console guys do this too, where they complain about mouse and keyboard. I don't want to play against these PC dudes, and they get killed by a guy on mouse and keyboard, and they're thinking, "Oh, this dude's cheating," and it's like some of them are, but some of them aren't. And I think a lot of the times, people just got bodied by somebody legitly, and they don't want to accept it. Their ego don't allow them to accept it. This gotta be a cheater. That's why I'm losing like this.
And I'm totally clowning y'all. Yeah, I know you guys are better first-person shooter players than I am. I'm old. My hands cramp up. My hands cramp up like that dude on Sons of Anarchy, right? my sciatica acts up. Like, I get it. Y'all are better than me. So,
oh my God.
No, it's not that. It's just, it's typical shooter recourse. Like this, I'm sorry, discourse. This is what we always discuss, and everyone feels a certain way about things. I think for myself, just, I think I play more first person shooters or shooters, even third person in general, than most people. And so, in playing like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Halo Infinite, the Finals, Rogue Company, it's extensively, like playing a lot of time, put a lot of hours in. I actually looked at, like, I think it was someone on Twitter, I think it was PMS Jordan, that was talking about like, what is your most played games on Steam? And when I looked it up, it was all shooters. They were all shooters. Like all of the top 9 games were nothing but shooters. And so like, I think just with all that time and experience, I've just seen where people don't differentiate between the hackers, the cheaters, and just the regular players. And then what ends up happening, as usual, the developer takes a stand on things, tries to fix things, try to make things more fair and better. And the people who get really more affected with that more than anyone is the guys who are not cheating, but just using the same input as the cheaters. And then now, like, and the cheaters get a firmware update from whoever they whatever method they're cheating, and they're past whatever methods the developer has created to stop the cheating, and the only people who are left hurt are the people who weren't cheating at all, which just kills the player base, the concurrent players that were playing the game. It's just, I see this happen over and over and over. It's probably the reason why I play so many shooters, because I just, once the player base starts to drop and there's nothing but the sweats left, like I'll rock with the sweats for a while, but You know,
Sweats make the game tired after a while, though.
Exactly. Every single match, I gotta be on my P's and Q's. You know, like ain't a single match where I get to relax. Like it's just not fun no more.
Before we move, because we're gonna move on from this, but the last thing about it is the reason I believe a lot of people, especially on console, hate playing against PC gamers is because, and it's more of the console gamer. They don't understand, especially when it comes to shooters. They don't understand the how to properly shoot a gun. I see so many people full blow pulled out on the trigger, hold it down the whole exact time, and their recoil is all over the place. Compared to if you think about it on a mouse, it's not really a comfortable thing just to hold down the mouse when you hit the trigger. Like when you hit the trigger and right click, you hit the button and you just keep firing. People don't do that on PC. It's like you tap. So you're basically burst firing on PC, so you're more accurate. That's why most people don't. From range. But that's the thing. People always talk about, like, how did I get killed by that assault rifle from 50 feet away? Well, there's a thing called tap firing, and console gamers don't do that as well. So I think that's the main reason why people that actually understand that type of gameplay, they actually do really well when it comes to playing on PC. But yeah, we know you just messing around, Logic. It's cool. You just happen to walk into the lion's den, and the lions here do bite.
Hey, so real quick before you move on though, so you said flight stick for Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yes, sir.
Do you actually want a flight stick, or are you thinking about like a yoke and throttle?
No, a whole toss, the whole thing, flight stick, yoke, everything. The throttle, everything.
Yeah, just most flight control systems, they're either going to be a flight stick or they're going to be a yoke. That's why I was saying. I mean, so for historically, I have several flight sticks. So the flight control system has a joystick as its main flight control surface. But I just got a new flight control system that has a yoke instead of a flight stick. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. We'll talk about it after the show, because I definitely there's a couple of good ones out there that I was looking at, and it's a whole nother experience when you play those games like that. I like it. Plus, I've been getting into what's the game on Steam? I forget the name of it. I forget the simulator that they have on there.
War Thunder? Is it a multiplayer game?
Yeah, War Thunder.
Digital Combat Simulator, DCS?
Yes, DCS. Okay, that's what it was, DCS.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. It might make sense for you to have a flight stick then. But yeah,
exactly.
We can talk about it.
We'll talk about it. All right, let's move on to the next thing. EA, once again, as you can see, Battlefield gameplay, because Battlefield is one of the best shooters out there. You don't have to worry about people shooting you in the pinky and you dying. It's crazy in Call of Duty time.
You do have to worry about getting ran over by a truck, getting shot down by an airplane, being blown up by like whatever it's in the environment. You didn't even see it coming. We do have to worry about all that other stuff that has nothing to do with shooting a gun. So
well, whatever. So EA's next Battlefield game is rumored to also have a free-to-play battle royale game. So this is something that they was supposed to be in Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 was supposed to have. They had the Ring of Fire that was going to be their battle royale that they had in the game, but it never matured into exactly what they wanted to be as a standalone thing. So they kind of canceled it with that game. So my question is, and this isn't going to be a really long one. What are your guys' thoughts? I'm going to you, Game Logic, because you just got here, being the shooter concierge that you are. Do you think it's too late for Battlefield to bring a BR? Or do you think there's still room inside the market for another battle royale?
So my comment definitely comes from a place of bias. I just don't give a f about battle royale.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. He's never like battle royale. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's just to me, it's just at a point where it's tropish and it's trendy and it's unnecessary. I mean, regardless of how I feel about it, the problem they're gonna have when they try and put it up is that it's gonna come into a very competitive market. that I'm convinced will only bear the top 2 or 3 or 4 battle royales.
Yep, it's oversaturated.
And there's going to be plenty of also rans out there that barely break even, and you sit around and you look at them and you're like, what is the juice worth the squeeze for that? But there are only going to be like 3 or so that rule the roost. I mean, the market has proven that, and that's why we have the highway of death behind us of every big battle royale game as a service thing that's come along. It's because, I mean, I've talked about it, I think, to you guys definitely before, maybe on this show, but look, new gamers come into the market, they survey the market. What do they look for? They don't read a ton of reviews because they don't understand reviews necessarily at that point when they're just coming in. They look at player count, and they look at where people are, and they listen to word of mouth from their friends. And the word of mouth that they're going to listen to is this game has the most people on it. And they're going to walk in with the assumption, I think, that the most people must be over there because it must be good. So they're going to gravitate towards the Apex Legends, the Warzones, the Fortnites, right? And that's where they're going to go. I mean, sure, you're going to have your Daisies and your other stuff, around your PUBGs that are still around, but I mean, nobody really talks about PUBG, right, these days as being one of like the super successful, top tier battle royales.
I mean, it still has a high player count, even on PC. But I think the biggest version of PUBG is PUBG Mobile, which is might be a top 5 mobile game at the moment. But yeah, PUBG is still relevant, but it's just, as you were saying, the market is oversaturated for battle royales now, and this is kind of something that, like I've said about Ubisoft in the past, where Ubisoft always misses the wave. Like they see everyone out on that wave, they're surfing. Oh my god, that's the best wave ever! They grab their surfboard, they run out off the beach into the water. The wave's gone, man. You missed it. Like you jump on your surfboard, it's too late. And that's Ubisoft in a nutshell. When they did their battle royale, I forgot even the name, but what the thing was called. But it didn't last very long. And you have to come up with something if you're going to have any kind of degree of success. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you have to come up with something that's so unique and different that it really makes the battle royale genre transformative for the player. And there really just isn't, I think, anything left to really kind of pivot to really have your battle royale stick out among a really stiff competition from Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone. What can you really provide that they don't do? What can Battlefield do that really makes that better? I mean, maybe the use of vehicles, which I can't stand, but it's something that's big in Battlefield. Maybe that can make things be the key difference in how they play. But I think it's a little too late, and almost kind of like typical EA to really be trying to pigeonhole so many of their IP into the same kind of things. They publish Apex Legends. Like, you have Apex Legends. Like, Battlefield doesn't need to be a battle royale. If anything, I'm so shocked they're not making a Battlefield extraction shooter, since that seems to be the new thing. Now people don't make battle royales a little more. Everything's an extraction shooter. Bungie's Marathon is being turned into an extraction shooter, even though the original game Marathon was not an extraction shooter. The Division Heartland, Escape from Tarkov is out there. Like, extraction shooters. What was that? Arc Raiders. That game was pivoted from. Thanks for yawning in our ears, Forte.
I'm sorry.
That game was pivoted from a 4-player co-op multiplayer PvE experience into an extraction shooter. It's and I'm not even certain that extraction shooters will be something that is a genre that's going to work on consoles, because the only successful ones have been on PC. So I mean, we're going to find out this year.
The funny thing is, Battlefield has an extraction mode. It's called the 2042, it has it's where you collect the data cartridges and you have to extract out with them, team that extracts with the most wins. So it already has like a kind of a mode in there like that. I did cut you off, Logic. What were you about to say?
No, I mean, I think one of the big problems is going to be, and it's particularly in this environment. So you have DICE. In order to add a battle royale mode to Battlefield, like you're not gonna flip Battlefield to a battle royale mode and not do regular Battlefield. So now you've got to sustain both.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way to do that is to ramp up and to staff up. What is the one thing no one in the industry wants to do right now? Right. So
yeah.
you just had both the co-founders of Ridgeline Studios leave.
Marcus Leto.
Yeah, that project was
they shut the studio down too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So how are you going to ramp up to bring on enough people to support an additional battle royale mode, which is going to be huge, right? I mean, it almost needs to be its own separate studio, and then also maintain regular Battlefield and have it come out in today's constrained financial environment. And then once it's out, then you got to support it. You got to have the four horsemen that I always talk about. You got to have skins, weapons, and cosmetics. That's one. You got to have LTMs. You got to have LTEs, and you got to have maps. Now, I mean, Battlefield 2042. I mean, the map development arc will be a little different, right? Kind of like Apex Legends does, and Warzone does. So it won't be quite the same, but still, right? You've got to support and maintain those things somehow.
Right. Yeah. Shout out to anonymous boss with the $5 rupees. He says, "Have you guys seen the remastered Star Wars Dark Forces? Looks like the studio did a great job. Maybe we'll see Dark Forces 2 soon, and the fan base likes it."
I did see that. I thought I do agree. It looks like they did a good job with the remaster. I'm not probably gonna play it because I just have no I have no available bandwidth for games that weren't already on my radar.
Yeah.
But for people who are hyped for it, I hope they play it. I hope they're really like into it and dig it, and it kind of signals that it's something that may need to be revived as a full-on, fully developed sequel or whatever in the future. So yeah.
Absolutely. Really, first of all, really appreciate the super chat, bro. And same thing. I feel the same way. It's like at this point, it's so many games, and we haven't even gotten to the point where we're talking about how much games are going to probably cost in the near future, depending on the way that everything shakes out with just game development over the course of the next couple of years. It's like you're gonna have to be very, very more selective in the stuff that you do buy. And you always want to leave yourself open for those games that are the surprise ones that do release that you probably didn't see on your radar. And those are going to be some of the games that probably do pop up. Not to say that this game wouldn't, because I am a huge Star Wars fan. Slow Mo definitely knows that about me. I think he's kind of just looking at it like it's a Star Wars game. I don't care. I already don't like Star Wars or whatever. But
I mean, I like Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, but that was classic Star Wars.
I mean that
was classic.
One of the best games ever created. So
I mean, it was also made by BioWare too.
Yeah, I mean, I like Star Wars games. Like, what's another one? I like Fallen Order. I didn't really care for Survivor, but
you're getting Outlaw. You're going to play Outlaws though, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, massive entertainment. I'm definitely playing that.
Outlaws is that's the Star Wars game I'm looking forward to. Go ahead.
Since we're on the topic of EA, they canceled the Mandalorian game.
Yeah,
there was okay. So I don't know how many projects they canceled. I can't remember if they are overlapping or I'm talking about the same one. They canceled a first-person shooter.
There were two.
Star Wars first-person shooter that Respawn was making, and they also canceled the Mandalorian game. Were those the same games? Or was it two separate games?
They were two separate games.
All right, so look, remember Andrew Wilson, EA's CEO, when he said this, and when he said this, I thought he was just coping with the fact that they had lost exclusive rights to Star Wars IP. But he said, my predecessor made that deal. I do not think it was a good deal. We weren't making a ton of money off of it, and we only went forward with the projects we thought that we would they make a ton of money off of it. Let it go to let other people work with it. We'll still make some Star Wars games, but I don't care. This is essentially what he meant. I thought he was just coping, because they basically went from being the only person making Star Wars games to now everyone's making them. And they weren't the only game in town with that. But then I see how they're moving, and they're still doing what they were doing before, which is canceling the majority of Star Wars projects that they were start developing. And this is when they had the exclusive license, they did that too. So
this is the funny thing. This is the funny thing about it. I want to hear what Logic has to say about it. This also goes back to the point where if you go look at those leaked documents that came out about the development that Disney, because of the Marvel games, had in place with PlayStation on how those games had to do, and like the revenue cut that they were getting off of those games. So you would kind of think that would probably be the same thing when it comes to Star Wars, when it comes to EA, because that's still owned by Disney. So when they talk about it's probably not as profitable as you think it is, it's because Sony and because of Disney might be taking a major cut of that IP away from them, like they're doing with Sony. Like if you think about it, Sony is selling consoles, like full-fledged consoles with Spider-Man in it, and they're giving up like 40 to 50, sometimes 60% of the cut of the system sale, just to appease what's going on in the contract with Marvel and Disney. So I wouldn't be surprised, after seeing all of this stuff, why they're canceling these things, because that's a contractual obligation that they probably just at a certain point they're like, yeah, let somebody else deal with this, because unless they think it's going to be a hit, I don't think they want to do them anymore. And I think the reason that you actually got a Star Wars Survivor is because Jedi Fallen Order did so well. And the Battlefield as much as, Battlefield 2 was kind of a nightmare when it came to monetization, it still did very well as a game, as sales and stuff. So with that being said, what do you think about that, Logic? What do you think, when it comes to EA? We're kind of off topic on it, but, we're still talking about EA and everything that's going on. What do you think about just that in general?
Well, just going back to what you said about PlayStation, right? Like that makes sense for a PlayStation when that is you fighting the war for market share, and that gets you to a number, right? And then you can worry about the revenue piece of it kind of after, because the whole point of you're getting your console out there is for it to have attach rate and for it to drive subscriptions and for it to drive additional purchases. EA, we sleep on EA. We sleep on them, but EA is the Sopranos of third-party publishers.
Mm-hmm.
They put the whack on FIFA, and your boy just said, Disney, we're not doing this today. And it doesn't matter to us because we're that big. We don't need it. So I'm guessing that's the perception, that's the perspective that they're coming from. That they just don't need the anchor around their neck of the licensed IPs when they are as big as they are. They own some of the biggest sports franchises that are out there. They're making inroads to get back into them, right, with NCAA football.
Oh, can't wait.
My fingers are crossed.
Fingers crossed, baby. Fingers crossed.
My fingers are crossed that they bring NCAA basketball back. But, I think they are enough of a beast now that, it's definitely, there's at least some time for them. I mean, because remember, they gobbled all these licenses up really with sports organizations, leagues just going to a point where they weren't really, if they were shopping the licenses around, they weren't finding any better partner than EA. And I don't know if that was because of size or market share or what EA was doing, but other than that brief moment in time that 2K grabbed, part of an NFL license. Well, and they've got NBA too. And I mean, there really hasn't been that much success, right, in anybody really grabbing those.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. Go ahead, Slobo.
And I kind of feel like that's fine for EA. Maybe they, although I heard with the talk, and this always comes out after a game is canceled. The developers start talking about their game and such glowing. Oh, it was amazing. It's the best game I've ever played in my life. And I'm like, it's easy to say that, knowing we'll never play your game. So like, I don't know if that's cap or not, but for Disney and Star Wars, I kind of feel like they need to get back to. I'm glad that they don't just rely on one publisher anymore to get their games out. Like I think about like some of the best games that were created with some of their IP with Star Wars, and like BioWare is a well-known developer that, well, not the star has kind of dimmed a bit, but when they made Knights of the Old Republic, that was their first game as a studio after leaving Interplay. They were a nobody then, and I want that to for Lucasfilm Games and Disney to go back to giving a shot to these small up and comers. Every now and then you're gonna screw up, like with Aspire, with Knights of the Old Republic remake. Every now it's not gonna work, but that's where you're gonna get really an idea of an innovative idea from a developer that wants to put their stamp on it and can really provide something different and new to Star Wars. Star Wars, for those who haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, it doesn't take place with the Skywalkers. This takes place like a gazillion years before that.
Right.
And it was smart of them to do that, because then they got out of what everyone else who writes a story in the Star Wars universe gets stuck with, is like trying to write around the Skywalkers, trying to write around the events of the movies and the comics. They went to a period where no one had touched it and created their own stories, was able to show their real writing chops and freedom. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to see, not just in Star Wars, but in any licensed IP, that you're finding a way to be innovative and different in the story, but also in the gameplay and its design as well, because there was no other game that was Star Wars related that was like Knights of the Old Republic when it came out. No other game was doing that old school kind of RPG stuff that really was all that old school back then for them. But no one was doing that like that. And I think that's what we need more of. We need more smaller developers taking those shots to get their name out there, and then going from there, start making their own original stuff once people get to know who they are.
No, I agree. I just, at a certain point, it just ultimately comes back to battle royales. I've never really been into them. There's certain franchises I think would benefit from them, but I just, like the same thing I said about even with these live service games and everything. It's like, I feel like we're way too far into just this type of fad that we're in right now for somebody to try to come in and reinvent the wheel. Not saying it can't happen. It's just that I think
it's very unlikely.
It's very, exactly. People are kind of set in the games that they want to play at this point. And if you were going to play a battle royale, you probably already played one of the better ones that you're going to play at this point. So let's go ahead.
What do you think about Battlefield having an arenas mode?
Ooh.
You mean support it? You mean like an arena like shooter, like where it's like 5v5 in a small little area? Because like 2042 has that right now.
Like Apex Legends had.
Oh wait, I don't know.
Oh, that's a little different for Apex Legends.
Well, Apex Legends was the arenas mode, which they pulled, but it was 3v3, but it was like on a smaller chunk of the map.
Yeah. 2042 has a 6v6 TDM mode that's like take a portion of what the massive maps are, for the 64v64 stuff, and they make it like 6v6. And I mean, that's when I play Battlefield, that's what I want to play. So it's yeah, I mean, it's in there in 2042, but I don't think they'll ever make like a just a game around that. I don't think that's something they're interested in ever doing again.
No. I would say them doing that instead of a battle royale mode. But what you're saying, it's already in there, so I guess that would
the only thing that I think, and the reason that see, those modes don't get played as much in Battlefield. Like you'll see some of the multiplayer, not multiplayer, that they're all multiplayer. You'll see some of the TDM maps take off because like people like slow mo that don't like, vehicles in the game and stuff like that. But I think the further you get away from just Battlefield, because Battlefield's about Battlefield moments, and I always felt like Battlefield's already a freaking BR. It's like the maps are the size; they're huge. It's like how much? Like, what's the difference? Okay, so you drop in and you got to pick up your weapons. I mean,
you
at
don't
this
have a small team. Instead, your team is like 60 people.
Yeah, exactly. So I always looked at Battlefield as like, it's already a BR, just with teammates on an even bigger map than games like.
You also don't respawn. It's still not really a battle royale. Battle royale is you go in, if you die, you're out. That's it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
There's no, hey, give me I mean, someone could pick you up, or they could like. If your full team hasn't been killed yet, you could be, you can return to the map if they, whatever method that they figure out how to bring you back is done. But I mean, that's not what Battlefield does. So it's still not really a battle royale. I think the biggest draw to these kind of games, because like Fortnite is fun, but some of the fun of Fortnite is the fact that you get to play it with like literally almost every pop character.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like there's art, like musical artists in the game. There's every, like, Master Chief is in the game. Kratos, Nathan Drake, the Ninja Turtles are in there right now in the store. Like, name a popular comic book, video game, movie, cartoon, anime. It's been in Fortnite at one point in time, and you can take that skin looking like whoever and have them doing the goofiest, stupid dances in the world, shooting guns that like I think the only thing they haven't got in there is Mario. I think Nintendo refuses to allow their IP to be in there. Like, you're not gonna catch Princess Peach gunning somebody down and flossing on their dead body. Like, it's not happening, right? So this is, Nintendo refuses to do it. But outside Nintendo, everyone else is like, hey, we'll take the money, thank you. And I think that level of look what I can do and how I can have my character look different, different skins and love. Like I'm playing the finals, and I really just want to, like, on the career like unlock track, like unlock this one outfit for my light build character, and I think I probably won't even play that game no more. Like, so in some ways, even though it's not that important, it just kind of becomes important for people. And even to, it kind of reminds me of how we play looter shooters, and then you kind of get into this, even though there's no real new content, you want to get a specific build that you had an idea that you theory crafted, and I want to get this build, but I need to get this particular piece to really make the build sing. And so you keep playing the game, you keep grinding, doing certain content to get that piece, that part that you need for your build to make it work. And then once you get it, it's like you finally caught the carrot. And now it's like, well, what do I do now? And I think developers know that, and so they make it difficult to kind of chase that. But in Battle Royale stuff, like some of these games that are free to play, but their way of keeping you engaged is hey, here's this battle pass, and at the end of the battle pass, it's like I think Fortnite did this one year when they had Spider-Gwen in the game. The Spider-Gwen was the last thing on the battle pass. So you either had to buy all the levels to get the Spider-Gwen, which is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Or you play that game to grind to get that. And I played the game to grind to get Spider-Gwen because that skin was cool looking. And I think when you see that with Apex Legends, when you get in Apex Legends, you got like 3 like legends to use. You gotta unlock the rest of them, and like most of the real cool ones you gotta unlock. That's grinding, that's playing the game to get to do that. That's the reason why we see the MAUs, the monthly active users for those games, so high, because people, they enjoy playing the game. Like they wouldn't do it if the game was torture for them to play. But it's the draw really isn't the actual game design. It's the other stuff that goes along with it. And when you don't have that stuff, like I remember when I said this about Bleeding Edge, and I said Bleeding Edge was actually a pretty decent game. Problem,
you almost got crucified for saying that.
Hey, I don't care. People can say whatever they want. Most people who talk trash about Bleeding Edge never played it, but it was a decent game. True. The map should have been a bit smaller, and they should have sped up the character speed a little bit more. But it was a decent game. It was a decent hero shooter. Bleeding Edge's biggest problem was that them characters were fugly, not ugly. Fugly. These are some. They made out of like a dozen characters, only 2 of them, maybe 3 of them, had a decent game design, and the rest of them were hideous. Like who decided I'm gonna make a character that's a corpse that's being basically controlled by a python? And I'm just like, I don't even want to look at that. Like, what are you doing? And it's like, when you're going up against Overwatch, where I dare you to Google Overwatch characters and see what pops up in the images. You're going to need to make sure you're not at work when you do that. Like, there's a whole different difference. Like, Blizzard understood, you make characters that are physically appealing to some lonely weirdos or whatever, I don't know. And
oh my God,
people will play the game, but also they love the characters that they're playing. When you make a game where people don't care about how these characters look because they're not appealing, that's not going to keep people engaged in your game, no matter how good or bad it is. These things are like, it's the reason why we see, like, look at some of these characters in some of these free-to-play games, and you're just like, yeah, I get it. It's appealing to a certain demographic. And, it just works, man. And I don't see any of that happening in Battlefield. You're not going to find, they ain't going to put Nicki Minaj in Battlefield. They put Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty.
And, say what you will about Call of Duty, but like one of the things that I've loved since I've come back to Call of Duty with Modern Warfare is every season there's always a skin that like you can tell who finished the battle pass.
That's true.
That's the only way to get that skin. There's only a few people who run around with it. And that speaks to what you're talking about, Slow-Mo, is that there's as much as a small thing, as much as I say, many times, like, you shouldn't be playing the game for cosmetics, right? It should be about the gameplay, right? But the fact of the matter is, like, you win that stuff and you wear it,
Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing I wish 343 had figured out.
I ain't gonna lie, me and Slow-Mo got me thinking the battle pass was ending one day. Me and him jump in playing at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the battle pass didn't end till the next day. We had a whole nother 24 hours.
Call of Duty put Paul Atreides from Dune in it, and I said, this look just like Timothy Chalamet or whatever, Charlemagne, Champagne, whatever the heck his name is. Look just like the guy. Bought it.
Bought it.
Absolutely bought it. They got Shredder from the Ninja Turtles in Call of Duty. Bought it. As soon as I saw it, bought it. I got that even though
I bought Lilith
don't look like Lara Croft. It's Lara Croft because she got the little shorts on and the tank top and the double guns. bought that too. This is how the game works. So if you're gonna make, go, before we could put a pin in this, EA, go ahead and make your Battlefield Battle Royale, whether it's boring and generic and the same old.
You better have some good skins.
You better have. I'm telling you, it better not be no random. Just hey, my name is Truck Stop. I'm an engineer. Like no one gives a crap about Truck Stop, bro. Like your made up Battlefield characters, you can keep them in the corner. No one cares. You go put LL Cool J in the game. Go put somebody that's popular in the game. Something like go freaking put J. Cole in Battlefield. Then people will pay attention. Like no one cares about Truck Stop.
One thing, and I know we're trying to move on, but so the two things I was gonna say is one, somewhere in EA there are people who understand how to make deals for licenses and IP, because the Need for Speed series has historically had, I won't necessarily say the best soundtrack, but
it's been good.
Like I've always been amazed. I pop open there's so many top Billboard songs that I'm like, oh man, the first time I heard that was on a Need for Speed soundtrack. I mean, whoever was working that made those deals and got that content into that game, and so I don't know why you can't get those people to help out with DICE. But the other thing I just realized and I don't understand is how has there never been a G.I. Joe deal for Battlefield?
Oh yeah, that'd been perfect.
Oh, that'd have been perfect, bro. Yo, Joe,
oh my
G.I. Joe versus Cobra? Let's go. Let's go. That's Serpentor. Let's go.
Higher game logic. I mean, seriously, that's a no-brainer.
That is a no-brainer.
You telling me you going to look if this battle royale comes out and they don't have any kind of licensed skins in there? If you ain't got G.I. Joe in there, fire everybody. Just fire all of y'all don't deserve to be doing this. I'm kidding. Don't really fire everybody, but definitely give them a stern talking to about how bad they are.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That's a no-brainer kind of thing. You're Battlefield. Like you need that. This needs to happen. What's the blonde guy? The typical
Duke.
White Duke. Yes, Duke needs to be in Battlefield.
Duke, Flint, Scarlet. There's a lot of good people.
It's so common sense. They ain't
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes. Right.
Let's go.
It's such a common sense thing. They won't do it.
Roadblock, let's go. Yeah. It's got vehicles in it too, so they could actually, they could monetize the heck out of that. They could make an actual mode.
Battlefield is G.I. Joe.
It is G.I. Joe. You're right. It is G.I. Joe.
Look, you got privates, you got E4s running around flying aircraft. That's exactly what Battlefield is.
That's exactly what Battlefield is.
No damn pilot training, but yet
you flying this $1 billion airplane. Absolutely. Shout out to anonymous boss with another $5 rupee. He says it's cool that after 20 plus years they made a remaster of that earlier game. Have you guys in the chat ever played Shadow of the Empire? Real good game. I didn't even know that was a game. I haven't played it. Didn't know. I got to look into that. I definitely got to look into that. Thanks again for the super chat, bro. Really appreciate it. Moving on to the next topic. Nintendo emulators.
Before you do that, talk about the poll. Go ahead and end the poll.
Oh, yeah, the poll. 29 people, shout out to you guys for the voting, said, would you play Battlefield Battle Royale? And it was, a second ago was 52 to 48. Now it's 48 to 52 in favor of no. So it's actually real close. I was expecting people to say I'm burnt out on Battle Royale. So it seems like we got a lot of people in here that just like to either play a lot of Battle Royales or they just want to see something like that in Battlefield. That's interesting. I was expecting that to be a landslide and no, but there it is. But let's move over to the next topic. We got Steven Tatello. put out a tweet basically going over Nintendo is suing the creators of the popular Switch emulator Yuzu, saying their tech illegally circumvents Nintendo's software encryptions and facilitates piracy, seeking damages for alleged violations and the shutdown of the emulator. He says, note 1 million copies of Tears of the Kingdom was downloaded prior to the game's release. Yuzu Patreon support doubled during that same time period, basically arguing that is the proof that Yuzu's business model helped piracy flourish. Slow-mo, you know how I feel about it. I tell people all the time. I tell people this all the time. I don't mind if people pirate games as long as you pay for it, like especially in Nintendo's case. As long as you go out and buy a copy of the game and you want to play, because Nintendo's not giving you the ability to play the game on a better platform, because the platform they got it tied to is a potato when it comes to playing at better frame rates and resolution. So if you have the ability to play it on PC, as long as you're going out and you're actually paying the money for the game, pirate away. But guess what? Nintendo don't see it that way. Nintendo's like, yo, we losing money because people ain't doing that. Slow-mo, I'm gonna go to you. What is the first thing you thought of when you saw this from Steven Totella?
Actually, the first thing I thought of was Nintendo might be doing some things differently in the future. Because Yuzu's been around for a minute. And it's not like it hasn't, like it just showed up and Nintendo's like, it's popular and people are doing this on PC. Let's do something about it. Yuzu's been around for a minute. So for them to make this move now, to me, it tells me one or two things. I'll talk about the one that's more reasonable and then the other. And the one that's more reasonable is that the Switch 2 is going to be backwards compatible. And they don't want people looking at the Yuzu version of these games as they continue to come out and is backwards compatible to the old games, and seeing that Switch 2 still doesn't perform better in these games than Yuzu does. And so on someone's PC. And so if you don't have Yuzu, then they could probably say, well, hey, look, you'll buy a Switch 2 to play the games that you wanted to play on the Switch 1 with a higher fidelity and more stable frame rates. So that's the more common, I think, explanation on why they're doing this now. Another pie in the sky one that probably isn't true is that they might be deciding to choose to put their games on PC natively in the future. And if that's the case, then you don't want Yuzu being there and being competition where, you're going to expand into this other segment of the video game market, but people can just go, even though it's not as simple as just ripping the game, but there's a process where people can just get your game for free instead of actually buying it on the platform. And clearly there's a market there because there's a significant number of people who play Nintendo games through Yuzu or various other, I think there's another one called like Ryujin or something like that. There's a different emulator that's not as popular as Yuzu. There's definitely a market there for them. But I don't think that's it. I think Nintendo probably, the more I think about it, the more I think about Nintendo's like, ain't no way in hell we putting our games on a platform that has stuff like Nexus mods.
That's true.
Can you imagine?
Slow-mo, do you still have your Nintendo Switch?
I do. Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
Would you get it? Whoa. I thought you got rid of your Switch.
It was a gift. I did. The one that I bought.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, your wife rebought you another one and I made fun of you and I said you can't get rid of it.
I sure can't. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
yes,
I remember his wife bought him one. He was with
the fakest, most plastic smile on my face. It's great. It's awesome. Yes, a Switch OLED. I definitely wanted that. Yeah.
So outside of that familial obligation, let's just say you hit a point where, were there a way to play a Nintendo game on a PC, you saw no need for a Nintendo Switch?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And now the Switch 2 though, I'm interested in, and I know there's been rumors from a particular tech tuber that I don't necessarily trust. I ain't gonna say the name, but yeah, probably if people who've seen it, they probably know who I'm talking about. But like, there have been rumors of what the specs are for the new Switch 2, and I don't believe them. Mostly because the rumor said it would be running Ampere architecture, which is like, that's like the RTX 3000 series, which if you kind of look at like how Nintendo normally goes with their hardware, they want to make sure that they're making a profit when they release the system. They're not like Sony and Microsoft. Well, they'll release some hardware that day one at launch does not, like, they're in the red initially before software. It helps them, clear that and get in the green. Nintendo's not like that. They want their hardware to be making money for them day one. And it being Ampere architecture, I know that's like a good 3 years old, 4 years old now. But considering how Nintendo prices their products, and I just don't see Ampere being used here. I don't see it. So, but if it is, that'd be great, because I think the other specs of it don't seem that powerful. Like, it's supposed to be something that's like on the level of like a Series S, which frankly, that'd be, for a handheld, that would be amazing. But I don't see it. That said, if you got, of course, NVIDIA technology involved here, you have the ability to use DLSS as an upscaler. That might really, like, if DLSS is prominently used in this in this ecosystem for the Nintendo Switch, that would be a game changer for them.
Yeah,
when it comes to performance. And that's like, for me, as long as I get a consistent 60 FPS frame rate, I'm good. I won't even use, your Yuzu emulator or whatever to play the game. if I got a stable frame rate, I'm good. I don't need to play it at like native 4K. It's simple looking games anyway. It's not like it's freaking, oh, it's so beautiful. Like, no, I'm fine. Just give me a good frame rate and I'm good to go. So yeah, I mean, we'll have to see.
It'll be, if it does have that, it'll be interesting to see what that's called, because on a Nintendo platform, it's not going to be called DLSS. It's not going to be, it's not even going to be consolified like the current graphics options are on Xbox and PlayStation, right? For the Nintendo user base, it's not going to be something for nerds. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, something ootsy cutesy, super basic and simple. That, that's a Switch. It's not going to be, a ton of choices of optimization and all that. It's going to be a flip on or flip off thing for their user base. So it'll just be interesting to see how they go about doing that.
Yeah, I think the same thing. It's
go ahead. Logic.
Go ahead.
Do you think the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because, and I'm keying off of the fact that they said very early on that your online account is going to carry over, and that was the tell that told me that, like, if your online account is going to carry over and your online persona is going to carry over, which in my mind, and people can please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that's happened with the Nintendo system since it's been online. Yeah. I constantly criticize and go after them because, like, every flipping time you go from generation to generation, they change the login mechanism, they change the e-store. Like, you can't get back to your old account. Like, the only way historically to get back to previous generation Nintendo online content and store content has been to retain your old hardware. And I kind of laugh and joke about how, in the console wars, people constantly go at either PlayStation or Xbox for stuff, and I'm like, y'all don't say anything about Nintendo. You literally can't get back to your stuff. You can't get back to your stuff that you bought on your Wii unless you keep a Wii. So, but at any rate, that was the tell that told me that they were gonna, and they had some other verbiage around like a PR release that came out at that time about you bringing your online persona along with you, and that told me that they're gonna have to. They're gonna retain all that stuff, that backwards compatibility, because that's what a lot of your stuff is tied to, right? Your Mario Kart, your Animal Crossing, your cloud saves. That's a big, huge one that by virtue of the fact that they're letting you remain attached to that via your online persona. That to me seems like you have to bring the backwards compatibility along with it.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like the only reason why the Switch One wasn't backwards compatible is because of the Wii U's failure. The Wii U was so bad and only sold 13 million units that they kind of felt like, and you think about a lot of the games that they released for the Switch were Wii U games. I feel like that didn't they didn't sell the way they needed to sell, and therefore the development of those games, those individual projects, did not turn out to be successful. All right, we're gonna take that exact same game. We're not gonna make it backwards compatible so that if you bought it already, that you can just take that game and use it on the Switch. We're gonna resell that game on the Switch now that this thing is popping, and we're gonna make our money back. And I feel like that's the reason why it wasn't going to be. It wasn't backwards compatible, because they needed to kind of recoup what they did with the Wii U and the failure of the Wii U. Now that all that's, water under the bridge, yeah, let's keep the ecosystem going. Let's not upset these people too much, even though we've been treating them like pay pigs for so long. But yeah.
Well, it was also a shift in architecture too, right? Because Wii previous generations and stuff ran on IBM Power PC. And now this is them going to ARM. What I'm hoping is that Nintendo, by going down this path with ARM, that this is where they're going to stay for a while, and this will be the first time that we have an opportunity, like away from like the Game Boy series of consoles, right? We're great Scott, like it's such a contrast, right, to their business model. I mean, you look at the Game Boy stuff. And like stuff is backwards compatible like generations into the rearward, right, into history. 3-4 console generations of backwards compatibility. But on the desktop consoles, you just have chunks where that's broken. So I'm hoping them going to this ARM architecture is something that they're going to stay on for a while. That gives us the ability to kind of carry forward from the Switch, hopefully over multiple generations, where we can maintain that backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. All right, so well, I told someone I hated saying it. I was like, I'm at that point where my Switch is literally not being played. But it's like super underpowered, and all the games I do want to play on it, it's like kind of over it at this point.
Hurts your eyes to even look at it,
huh? No, it's not that bad, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Moving on to the next topic, we are talking about Saber Interactive and Toys for Bob. Toys for Bob is basically becoming an independent studio immediately, and Saber Interactive is basically, I guess, buying themselves out of their deal that they have with Embracer for $500 million. So we're gonna tackle those both at the same time.
They're not the only one.
They're not the only one, but
Gearbox is about to follow that route too.
Yeah, Gearbox about to follow that same route. So breaking news from Charlie Intel says Activision owned studio Toys for Bob is becoming an independent studio effective immediately. Support for Crash Team Rumble is ending, and they say over the years, we inspired love, joy, and laughter for the inner child in all gamers. We pioneered new IPs and hardware technologies. And Skylanders, we raised the bar for best-in-class remasters and Spyro Reunited trilogy. We taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative, critically Acclaim new heights with the same enthusiasm and passion. We believe that now is the time to take the CEO to our future games to the next level. This opportunity allows us to return to our roots and begin a small and nimble studio. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring a possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. And while we are in the early days of developing our next game and the ways that we walk away from making any other announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experience. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we will continue to work closely together as part of our future. This is literally the narrative that you're going to probably see in 2024. A lot of it when it comes to I feel like when it comes to like studios that are part of bigger publishing house where they can find themselves being able to separate themselves from their bigger conglomerate. Toys for Bob, I don't think they were they were really, really big help when it came to Call of Duty and helping them develop games on the back end when it came to that. So Logic, you being a Crash fan, I don't know if you're really a Crash fan, but what do you think about the direction? Like Slow-Mo said earlier, we got Toys for Bob doing this. We got Embracer basically letting go of what's the name for $500 million, and they're going to become a standalone studio. And then it looks like Gearbox is heading in the same way. I wish it was without Randy Pitchford, but it looks like he's still going to probably be a part of that. But whatever.
God, the guy's like a roach.
That dude he's just not going to leave that studio. I was almost excited when I was like, "Oh, is it going to be without Randy Pitchford?" And then it's not probably. So there it is. But what do you think though about all this?
So I've got one I told you so, one disagreement, one raised eyebrow, and then I'm not sure where I'm going after that.
I want to know the disagreement first. Disagreement first.
You want disagreement first? Okay.
Yeah, we want chaos first. Chaos is always the best way.
So you mentioned your theory is that we're gonna see a lot of this throughout the year. I disagree. I don't think we are.
Okay.
I think these are fairly. I don't want to say unique, but there were some specific off ramps that allowed these things to happen. I think Toys for Bob was either told you're either going to get shuttered.
Okay.
We knew they were taking them out of their real estate and co-locating them with another studio. I can't remember which one it was, but I think they were being told, and I think we're going to see this with PlayStation 2. I think they were told they were going to eventually merge with that other studio, and I think given what's gone on with the whole point of just how obtuse it was that a studio called Toys for Bob was converted over to yet another Call of Duty studio, I think they felt for a very long time that their original founding identity had been sullied, and they were like not really doing what they really wanted to do.
Right.
And I think the notion of them being merged with yet another studio was just going to dilute them to a point where there really wasn't going to be a Toys for Bob. So I think they went and made a plea that they wanted to go this way. I think they're doing this very much on their own without a lot of. This isn't like a spin-off, right? Like when Seagate, and we're probably going to wind up talking about the Innovator's Dilemma tonight when we get into some of these other topics, but when Seagate didn't want to cannibalize its large enterprise storage spinning hard drive business, and they were trying to figure out how to get to SSDs, one of the things they did was they spun that business unit out, but there was a little more of a symbiotic relationship that was retained between them and that subsidiary. I don't think Toys for Bob is having that backing, right? Xbox is not going to be like their venture capital backing. They're going on their own, and they're told they got to figure this out to survive, minus this potential deal that they're trying to negotiate with Microsoft, which I don't have a lot of confidence that that's going to happen unless there's stuff behind the scenes that I just can't possibly imagine. But it would seem weird that Xbox would be willing to do that, just having laid off 1,900 of its own employees, and going through some of the slashes that they're still going through. So I don't. And Saber Interactive, this is going to blend into the question, so it's a disagreement, but it's also the question. It's the raised eyebrow. It's the people leaving the Embracer Group are the studios that are potentially actually making money. So so it's super weird who's abandoning ship at Embracer. And again, this may be a Embracer, right? The C-suite may have gone to the Embracer studio heads and said, "Hey, look, this thing is winding down, and we're gonna we're eventually gonna hit the self-destruct button on this, right, and declare bankruptcy. And we're letting you guys know now, so that if you guys can figure out financially how to break away and and make it on your own, right, then you can." It's kind of like that scene from Heat, right, when he gave everybody the out right before they went and did the last job. So I think this is what's going on, but I think by and large what we're going to see around the rest of the industry is we're going to see the continuing misfortune, right? We're going to continue to see studios close. We're going to see studios merged. We're going to continue to see kind of the normal corporate downsizing, tightening of the belt, like efficiency shaving, lean Six Sigma approach, right, to getting back to green. And maybe we'll see another handful of studios kind of hit that escape velocity and figure out a way out. But I think the other thing I'd caution is, right, the world they're going out into is harsh. It's not like, it's not like they're off to better pastures. I mean, a few people, and I know they're wishing them well, but a few people were painting like this really rosy and Tiffany Cup-Link kind of perspective on Toys for Bob. I'm like, guys, they're going out into the wild as an independent studio where things are not good. The Callisto Protocol studio just shut down last year after releasing what is arguably a good game. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Slow-mo.
Let's see here. Saber Interactive is 3,500 employees. I had no idea before today they were that big.
I didn't know they were that big. Good God.
They were a huge studio, but Saber Interactive does a lot of stuff. They are lead developers. They are, for a lot of times, support developers on games. Like Knights of the Old Republic Remake, their original role in that development of that game was to be a support studio. They did Crackdown 3, if people don't remember that.
I remember that.
They came in on the back end after the actual developer was purchased by Amazon for its technology, that destructibility that Microsoft had marketed Crackdown 3 to be. And they came in and finished the campaign of the game, which was, it was somewhat decent. It's Crackdown. It wasn't amazing or anything, but
don't talk bad about Crackdown.
Well, Crackdown needs to be better. Anyway.
You ain't like to get those agility orbs?
Yeah, I love that when it was in 2005 or whatever, when that first came out. Anyway,
I'm with you.
We're seeing. I agree with Logic that Embracer isn't going to be a thing for much longer. Their future is either filing for bankruptcy and not existing anymore in 2 years, or being a Konami where the very little IP they have left, they license out to other developers to make games for, because that's just cheaper to do than where they are. And the Gearbox is next. They're negotiating their exit as well. Gearbox, they spent $1.2 billion on them. They're not getting anywhere near that back to allow them to be independent or to be acquired by, I don't know, 2K or Take-Two, whoever. Because since they have a lifetime publishing license on Borderlands, it would be in their best interest to make sure Gearbox is good, so they're continuing to make money off of that. But I think those two studios are very different than Toys with Bob, who they're also getting their independence, but they're a much smaller team. They're like less than 100 developers, and they had layoffs when Microsoft did all those layoffs, and they don't own anything. Like, they don't own any IP. Like people were talking them up during the acquisition as if like they're going to do the next Crash Bandicoot, or hey, look, maybe we can get them to do Banjo-Kazooie. And maybe all of that might be, if they working through Xbox publishing, maybe that might be the future. But I remember saying it then, that all these people who were like, oh, they're going to bring all these games back just because Phil Spencer kept name dropping old IP. And I'm like, Do y'all not understand how Activision Blizzard operates? Why would Microsoft change that?
And that was why I told you so, Slopo. We both said during that time, all of these notions that, oh my God, they're going to bring back Crash Bandicoot. Oh my God, they're going to bring back Spyro the Dragon. I was like, we have no tangible, evidentiary, behavioral, past performance representation by Microsoft or Xbox that's what's going to happen. They've talked about Activision operating relatively independently. We don't have any incentive to believe that that's what Activision is going to do. And here we are with Toys for Bob being spun out. Yeah. So again, just what's come to fruition is that it's at the end of the day, unfortunately, again, it's about business, it's about dollars, it's about financial health, and those things take precedent over nostalgia, right, and heartstring plays.
Right, and as much as I champion creativity and being and like studios being able to make the kind of games they want to make, let's just keep it a buck. Toys for Bob had become a COD support studio. COD is the machine. That's it. You telling me they're going to potentially mess up the machine, mess up the machine dropping that annual release that's going to be the most sold game every year in the console and PC market? You're going to potentially mess that up to make a freaking Banjo-Kazooie? Like, too many people don't do critical thinking. Executives say things because they want you to be cool with what they're doing, right, even though they didn't give you any guarantees. They didn't announce anything. They didn't say, hey, this game is definitely coming. They didn't say, oh, hey, look, we've already started development on this stuff. They just, hey, we might bring this back. What does that mean? Like I might go into the office tomorrow. I'm not. I'm work from home. I might go in the office tomorrow. I can say that knowing with full confidence, I'm not lying to you. I might do that, but I know I'm not going to because I have no need to. It's just like people have to understand how this works, and there's just too many grown adults just falling for the okie doke all the time when it comes to these publishers, these platforms, when they say things, and then just immediately believing everything they say, even though what they're saying contradicts what they were saying a month ago, or 6 months ago, a year ago. It's just, come on, man.
It's selling wolf tickets.
Yeah.
Those are some very expensive wolf tickets.
It's like this. Toys for Bob, I agree with logic. What essentially probably happened here was they were told, hey, look, you're not making a platformer, whatever the heck you want to make. That prototype you just showed us, that looked very cute. No, with us, you're making Call of Duty content. We got you working on skins for season 3. That's what you're doing. Okay, you don't like that? That's fine. Hey, look, you can take whatever you may have gotten, somehow independently with the acquisition and use that to buy yourself out. That's fine. We can work with you on independently, and that's fine, maybe. But I mean, that's the reality of the situation. That's the reality of what that studio have been relegated to, and I don't like it. I don't like, if I make a studio. The 3 of us here create a studio. We're founders of a studio. Now, we wanted to make 2D side-scrolling platformers. That's what we love. That's what we're passionate about. That's what we're doing. And we make a game, everyone loves it. And then somehow, some way, we're now under a publisher, and we're like, we're just doing seasonal content for a racer. I don't say I hate racers, but I don't care for racers. I definitely wouldn't want to make one. Like, I understand people not wanting to do that. Like, you want to make something that you're passionate about. You don't want to be showing up to work like, guess I gotta, keep working on this car and make sure the specular lighting is perfect on this vehicle again. Like, no one wants to, like, if you don't have a passion for it, you don't want to do it. I get it. But the reality of this industry is that a lot of people ain't really working on stuff they're passionate about. They're working on stuff that's going to make money. And it's just the way we're forced. I'm looking at this gameplay. Why did it take you so long to realize where the enemy was? I don't. What the heck is going on?
I was
walking around.
No,
and
listen.
I'm just like, does he not see the doors right there? Like,
No, not there. It was like 3:00 in the morning when I was playing, and I was like looking for I was like, where the heck is the door?
I'm just like, how does he not see the door? It's right there.
And I finally found the door. Like I know, and I finally found the door, and I made it out. You ain't lying, bro. I remember I was like, oh my God, where's this door? That I finally found it.
Anyway, sorry for the distraction. No, I wish them the best. I hope they're successful. I hope that, like, if they, I do hope that they get this deal with Xbox done, because that's money coming in. And a lot of these studios that go independent, you may never hear from them again, because they may end up closing down because they weren't able to take a prototype and get it to get a deal done with a publisher. Or they do that and the game comes out and it bombs and they shut the studio down. It's a one and done kind of game, which happens pretty frequently too. But I just kind of hope that they're successful. But I think this is more of like a reality check, hopefully, for a lot of people that had a lot of crazy ideas about what was going to happen with Microsoft and Xbox after the ABK acquisition. And none of that stuff was really reality.
I also think part of this might be the fact that Microsoft looked at it like you said, Logic. Yeah, we might about to shutter this studio, and they said that they were able to basically say, well, that's a good way to save 180 jobs and not have to put that on the bottom line of some announcement that, you closed Toys for Bob and you laid off the whole entire development staff. So, them going independent, we don't know the details behind that, but it could be anything from whatever the next game they make might have to be something that is, in Game Pass exclusivity or something like that, to like kind of let them out of being a part of the Activision Blizzard umbrella. So there's a lot of different ways that could have kind of happened. I'm just happy that, if this is what they want to do, that they're finally away from that, because their best years was 2011 to 2015 when they were making Skylander games, because trust me, that company that developer had probably never been as popular and made as much money as they made during those 4 years or 5 years, because Skylanders was really a thing for a long time. Literally printing money
until it wasn't, right?
Until it wasn't
right.
anymore. Exactly.
Because in 2016, they sold 66,000 copies of Skylanders Imaginators,
which was the end, basically.
Yep. Yeah, and then they sold some more when they put it on the Nintendo Switch, right? But it was not a commercial success.
Yeah. That time it was just like everybody was kind of over it. The whole craze had kind of died off like well before it did, but they probably were so far into development of Imaginators that they just decided to release it, which you can't knock them for it. They put it out there and it didn't do as well. But if you just look at like the amount of money that they made off of selling plastic toys for 4 years was ridiculous. So I just think Activision just saw that and was like, instead of shuttering the studio, they went into a like you said, everybody all hands on deck on Call of Duty. So, all right, do you want to stay with the company? Do you like your job? Okay, well, this is what you're doing going forward. So,
right. Really, I would really love to see them. So, two possibilities. One's more kind of obvious, and one's a little bit of a stretch out there. I would hope that they actually get some type of partnership deal with Nintendo.
That'd be good look.
That would be a good one.
I mean, what do we? And now I'm gonna dream, right? It would be so nice if Nintendo would break them off a little chunk, let them work with some of their IP, let them have Amiibo for it, right? Which is kind of their wheelhouse.
Yes, I was thinking same thing.
Now the other thing, which Slow-Mo mentioned earlier tonight, that would be crazy. So Fortnite is doing its whole metaverse. Epic is doing its whole metaverse thing. It's bringing kind of old games, old IP, different types of metas, and spinning them out as other games, game modes within Fortnite.
They're doing that with Disney now too. They did it with Lego. Now they're doing a big one with Disney. So
So it would be neat if Epic would do something with these guys, let them do some type of meta micro game within Fortnite, but then let it connect right to some type of toys, figures, or whatever. And then that would be good for Epic, right? It would kind of broaden and scale horizontally outwards, right? Their business lanes and business ventures they're into. And it would be good for Toys for Bob, right? To let them kind of experiment working within the Fortnite engine, and leaning on that IP with that financial backing to let them get a leg up and get started out on their on their solo venture. But I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. All right, Slow-Mo. Oh, first of all, Logic, have you played Final Fantasy yet?
No, I am not a Final Fantasy person.
Okay,
you guys
good.
You guys are in the corner with the Bethesda, crazy Bethesda people, and
do you want to do the transition?
People.
Yeah, I was going to say we could do the transition now, and then we could talk about Final, because I changed the time over there to 11 o'clock. So let's transition over there now, and then we can start the conversation with Final Fantasy, then roll over to the conversation around PlayStation. So if you already got it up and going, we can do that now.
Give me a second, and it'll be up as soon as YouTube picks up the stream. I'll have it up, and you can check again. But to the kind of just kind of by the time. In the meantime, for those who we say this every time, but there may be some people who don't understand what we're doing. We're gonna redirect the stream from Forte's channel to the DPS channel so that we can continue to keep getting engagement there, and eventually have the whole entire podcast all streamed from beginning to end on the DPS channel. Forte is up now. You can double check it whenever you're ready.
It's already there. So, all right. I am getting do you have the link already?
I will have it in a second.
All right, he's going to drop the link just in case for some reason it doesn't redirect you. There will be a button that will show up in the chat, so a go button that will take you over there, or it would also do it automatically. Or if you don't, for some reason, just click the link that he's putting in the chat. We are about to jump over there right now. Once again, really, really appreciate you guys. We got up to 41 on this channel. Show some support on the new channel. Once we get it up to a certain point, we're going to transition the whole show over there and do DPS on that one channel. We won't do this anymore, but really appreciate everybody. We will see you guys over on the Damage Protected podcast channel for the final topic that we have when it comes to PlayStation layoffs and where the industry is going in the future. With that, appreciate it, guys. See you over there.
All right. Yep.